if there's just one or two of you in the family.
Okay. Yeah, you can get into details. We have a little time here to go on the show, so I want to get into depth so people can understand that there's a lot of myths about that surrounding healthy living and gluten-free. Just converting or augmenting to a healthier lifestyle. A lot of people seem to have their qualms about it, and they're reluctant to really gain knowledge about that. But it's really not that hard. It seems like you simplify a lot of the process, and you offer the community a lot of information. I don't really think the community realizes everything that you guys do and what's available to them.
No, I don't think they do. And really, eating healthy is definitely a lifestyle. It's not something that you can change in one day. And, there are a lot of people have things that are important to them, like eating organic or eating whole foods. And that, while that's important, it may not be realistic for everybody. Maybe you are on a fixed income and you can't afford, there are ways to fit healthy lifestyle into any budget.
That's a very important point there,
yes.
Because when people think of gluten-free, is that very expensive to maintain as a lifestyle?
So there are foods that are naturally gluten-free, and if, you are... I would say that unless you have to be gluten-free because you have a gluten intolerance,
or something like that,
right, then there's not necessarily a need to eat gluten-free.
Is there like a fad or something like
there are fad diets?
Yes,
yes, there are fad diets out there, and so if it's something that's important to you and you can afford to eat that way, then we can definitely incorporate that into your lifestyle. But, there are ways to fit all foods into a healthy lifestyle. So I always tell people that, if ice cream is your favorite food, and I tell you can never have ice cream again, you are not going to follow, you're not going to follow that. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
So there are ways to, keep those foods that are your favorite. And it's all about building a positive relationship with food. It's not about, I cheated today, or, we teach a mindful eating class.
Like existentialism, like mindfulness?
Yeah, so that's the same concept as, meditation and things like that. We talk about, when you take the first bite of your food, really, savoring it and really, understanding, like feeling the texture of the food, and it actually helps you to slow down the eating process. You're not shoveling food in, you're really enjoying the moment. And, just by slowing down and enjoying your food, you're not overeating, and, you're eating smaller portions, and that may be all it takes. You don't necessarily have to, restrict whole food groups, because doing that is not necessarily healthy.
Talk about, explain to our listeners what lactose intolerance, because I know certain diets people may want to adhere to, and if there's cheese products, there's dairy products, or something like that involved with it, a lot of people have a hard time dealing with certain dairy products.
Right. So lactose intolerance is basically you have an intolerance to milk sugars. Lactose is a milk sugar.
Right.
And so there are many products out there that do not contain lactose. There are, products like Lactaid, which is, basically milk without the lactose in it. Okay. But, there are alternative products as well, such as, if you can't have milk, you could try soy milk or almond milk. There's cashew milk. There's a lot of plant-based milks out there now. That would be a good option, too. So, I've been noticing, and I'm not sure if it's a trend, but I've been noticing that as people age, they seem to, have more intolerances to things like lactose. And I'd have to do more research on that to find out if that's, an issue with our bodies. But I've been hearing that come up more as I work more with the geriatric population. But there's, a lot of ways that you can incorporate other products into your healthy meal planning, that don't involve lactose?
Some of the things I encounter as a trainer and as a therapist, people talk a lot about counting calories.
Mm-hmm.
They become fixated on the calorie count. Oh, I got to do this, and they also talk about fasting, keloid diets, keto diets.
Mm-hmm.
Speak about some of the fad diets or that you've heard about, and dispel some of the myths or reveal some of the truths about those diets.
So again, yes, there are a lot of fad diets out there, and there's a lot of good research about those diets, but there's a lot of I don't want to say bad research, but maybe not enough research to say that those diets do everything that they say they're going to do. And one thing that I personally don't believe is cutting out whole food groups. We need all the macronutrients. Our body needs carbohydrates. Our bodies need fat. Our bodies need protein. And it's just, maybe a matter of the types of carbohydrates that you're eating or the types of fats that you're eating. So, maybe you want to cut out the saturated fats or not totally cut out, but limit the saturated fats and add more of those, unsaturated fats like your omega-3 fatty acids, that you get from fish or, nuts. But so yeah, I don't believe in cutting out whole food groups because I don't think that that is necessarily a healthy option.
What about some of the minerals? I mean, I know it was like a loaded question, but before we get back to that, let's talk about some of the minerals that people need, like especially women as they start to age.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe manganese and things that are like not found in like the things that we tend to eat every day.
So you can get minerals and vitamins in foods. You don't necessarily have to use supplements. Supplements are available for people who can't get maybe don't like all those foods that have the nutrients in them. But I will get to the different types, but I just want to say that, as we age, people are taking more and more medications, and people are taking more and more supplements. There is something called megavitamin therapy, mm-hmm. where you can take, 10 times more of, vitamins and minerals than your body needs, and that's like toxic.
So basically what's happening in that you're defecating, you're excreting those minerals out in your urine, right? Can't be good for your bladder or your kidneys, right?
Right. So, you can get the nutrients that your body needs from food, and I would recommend doing that before taking supplements. If you are deficient in a certain vitamin and mineral and that has been determined by your doctor, then, they may prescribe a supplement and that would be fine. Some of the things that our bodies need as we age, especially for women, calcium and vitamin D, and we would get those things from, dairy. We would get those things from, green leafy vegetables. Vitamin D out in the sun, Mm-hmm. A lot of times in the winter we're indoors, we need to get out and get a little bit of sun to build our vitamin D levels back up.
Mm-hmm. Speak to the elderly population. At the Y, there are a lot of elderly citizens that come in. They work out on a regular basis. What advice would you give to an elderly person in terms of shedding weight, in terms of altering your lifestyle, approaching it from a holistic view, and that's working out on a daily basis, but they're starving themselves. Mm-hmm. That's another issue altogether, but, let's just touch on that for the time being.
So malnutrition is very, very big in the elderly population, and you can be obese and still be malnourished. Meaning that you can have a lot of weight on your body and, still lack the nutrients that your body needs. So one of the things that I, like to tell the geriatric population is that it's not about, again, cutting out food groups. It's not really about dieting at that stage of your life. It's really about eating less. Your body as you age, you don't need as many calories, but you need more nutrients.
Okay.
So eating nutrient-dense foods, is what I would recommend.
You may want to elaborate on that for them.
Yeah, so, incorporating, fruits and vegetables into your diet as much as possible, incorporating, fish into your diet to get those healthy fats, things like nuts if you can, those things would really have all of the, nutrients that you need.
Okay. Back to the diet, we touched a little bit about some of the fad diets. I think the keto. I hear a lot of people bring in starvation almost like into their, or fasting into their diets. And what's the other? Am I pronouncing this right? The keto diet. Keto diet. I mean, how effective is that?
I've seen it work for some people. Again, it's not a one-size-fits-all, and with the keto diet, you really are cutting out major food group. You're cutting out carbohydrates. I don't believe in that. There are a lot of doctors out there that, think that works for some people, and like I said, it may work for some, but I personally believe our bodies need carbohydrates. It's important.
For a person that's working out, they made a decision. I want to change my lifestyle. I want to work out. Should I eat 3 times a day? Should I eat 5 times a day? Should I eat 6 more meals a day? What are your feelings on that?
It's different for everybody. I mean, it depends on...
What's a general rule, though?
There really is no general rule. I
Right.
mean, it really depends on how often you're working out, how long you're working out. I mean, what types of exercises you're doing may, determine, if you need more protein or, you need more carbohydrates. So it's really about, fueling your body for your workouts, the recovery period, and, maybe snacking in between. I mean, it really all depends on your schedule.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of great information about, eating 6 small meals a day. And that may work great for somebody who, let's say, has, acid reflux, eating 3 bigger meals, maybe you tend to overeat and, maybe you're eating too late. And, so having 6 smaller meals throughout the day might be, better for you. But like I said, it really depends on, what you're doing throughout the day, how much activity you have, what illnesses, might have to, prepare for and things like that.
If I'm a student in college and I'm undecided about what I want to do, what would you recommend? You gave us an overview of how you got into it. What would you recommend to any student that's pursuing a field in nutrition and dietetics? What would you recommend?
So the one thing that I love about the field of nutrition is there's so many different avenues that you can work in. I mean, you can work in a hospital, you can work in a grocery store, you can work in schools with school food service. We have dietitians who are out in Washington, D.C. that are, just advocating for things like the Farm Bill. And there's so many different areas that you can work in nutrition. You can incorporate it with, fitness centers. So it really has a lot of different avenues, and it really, speaks to different passions. So that's one thing that I love, and it's one of those things where if you worked in a hospital for 2 years and then you worked in the grocery store for a couple of years, it's not really frowned upon. You're like gaining experience as you go, and it's just wonderful that we really have all these different areas that we can help people in and become positive influence for people.